Uniform Education is the official recruitment sponsor for the SLT podcast. They specialize in SEN recruitment in and around London. So, if you are an SEN provision, a mainstream school, a local authority who needs specific SEN trained staff, make sure you contact Uniform Education and don't forget to mention the SLT podcast. Welcome to another episode of the SLT podcast. We have an amazing guest on today. The title of this podcast is going to be called The One Who Got Away. Yeah? Do you like that one?
I do.
All right. So really we're talking about we've touched on it before, retention of teachers, retention of good teachers in the industry of education. So why are good teachers, why are they leaving and why are they finding other routes to success? We have Hugo Trace in today, who was a former head of humanities, who's moved into digital marketing, is founder of his own company. And we're going to really ask him some hard-hitting questions because, full disclosure, we've worked together, we're former colleagues.
Yes.
So we're going to really expose his story and talk about why he decided to leave the industry and go on his own thing. So Let's go straight into it, yeah? Teachers are always kind of spoken about this intrinsic call to become a teacher, you know? We value teachers. Society loves teachers. But tell the truth, what's actually happening? And do you feel that sometimes, honestly, teachers are just replaceable?
Whoa. First of all, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's a difficult one. I think people do, on the surface, quite like teachers. Mm-hmm. But I don't know, people often say to me, oh no, when I was leaving teaching, for example, they'd say, oh, you can't leave teaching. You've got to stay. We need people like you in teaching. First of all, I mean, you paid me a big compliment anyway, but like to anyone listening, I thought I was a good teacher, but I'm not. Wasn't at the but yeah, I worked hard. But anyway, people would say to me, oh no, we can't have people like you leaving it. It's really important that people who are really good stay. And I was thinking, well, will you do it then? Why don't you go and do it? And none of them want to do it. And that's why, even though I think that they might love teachers and in some way respect teachers, I don't think that they think the profession is in a good place.
So just to pull this mic closer to you. So that's people outside of the profession.
Yeah.
What about people inside of the profession? Were people inside of the profession saying, oh, don't leave. But the system sometimes treats you like you're replaceable.
Gosh, I don't know.
Did you feel that?
I think there were probably some people who were pretty glad to see me go. Yeah, I think teachers are not really very replaceable because I think it's quite difficult to find a good teacher for the right context. I always used to say that the act of teaching is not necessarily that difficult, but to find a context in the school that actually suits you is quite tricky. And I often found lots of people, like the square peg round hole, they're trying to force themselves into a school that's just not really for them and they need to be somewhere else and they could fly.
Yeah.
And I was just really lucky that I stayed at the same school, the one that we were at for the whole time. And I just chimed really well with the kids. They liked me and I really liked them. So it was kind of easy for me. But so in that sense, I think it's not easy to replace people.
So hold on. You said you found the right school, chimed well with the kids, quote, you're head of humanities, experienced, respected. Why would you walk away from something like that to chase a whole new career?
Yeah. I did love lots of bits about teaching, and I still do. It's quite cool because I live around a similar area, so I still sometimes see the kids.
Okay.
They're older now. So yeah, there were loads of bits that I really liked. It's quite complex why I left. I mean, there were lots of different reasons. I think partly, like I said, I really enjoyed hanging out with the kids, and I really enjoyed teaching. I like the subject history, but I think eventually I found the teachers really difficult.
Yeah, I knew you was going to say. You said the kids a few times. I like the kids. I love the kids. By the way, did I say I love the kids?
I did.
But I was waiting for it. Go on.
Yeah, I think I found that a little bit like when I was at school myself, I had this one teacher that I really loved, and he was like the only one that made me feel A, B, and C, like the classic champion thing. And then I had a few teachers who I was quite cool with, and then a couple who were at least fine. But the rest of them, I thought I really did not get along with. And I actually found quite a lot of them, I felt like as a child, they were kind of, out to get me or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then that started feeling the same at school among the staff. And I just thought, I'm not here for this. I can't do that. People, all the politics, all that kind of stuff.
I think the politics, I've heard this a few times. So inside the classroom, with the kids teaching in front of the interactive whiteboard, it's not blackboard anymore. That is the bit you loved. Everything outside of that is where it started to get a bit heavy.
Yeah, although I didn't really like all the interactive whiteboards and those red, amber, green cards and stuff like that. I was more of a talk with the people than just ask them questions. But yeah, I found that a lot of teachers, I genuinely actually felt that teachers, some of them were out to get me. They were really trying. Oh, in fact, I know. Essentially, I can tell you. Yeah. I know they were trying to get me because people were making up crazy stuff. And I think it's partly that people in the profession are not necessarily very happy. So I don't like to blame people. They're feeling very bitter. We know that real wages have not increased. Yeah. So people are not feeling like they have enough money. People are feeling really overwhelmed with the workload. There's a lot of random stuff you have to do that, in my opinion, doesn't move the needle at all. And I think people just get more and more bitter. They don't know what to do. You can't change the system. What are you going to do? So you start turning on one another.
So do you think teachers actually feel undervalued? Do you think that may be one of those core things where, in essence, they feel undervalued in their profession and they themselves feel undervalued?
Probably. I can't speak for them all. I suppose I didn't really think too much about that myself, really. But I think that some people do. And they're probably right to think that. I've kind of been out of the teaching world now for a while, so I certainly am not an expert in the sort of wider political scene of how people are feeling. But when I see NHS workers getting pay rises that are way higher, I think, don't quote me on it, than teachers, that must be pretty painful.
Yeah.
And I definitely felt the squeeze myself financially from when I joined in 2015. Even with the promotions that I had, I just found it was getting tougher and tougher. And I can only imagine what it's like now, because with inflation, it's been a massive increase. So real wages must have really taken a sting. And I don't know, I think people are probably having a tough time. People are cycling a long way through the rain. Yeah. People are wearing the same suits every day. Yeah. People are like having packed lunches that are really scrimping. They're not going to Preds like the guys in London Bridge or anything.
Yeah.
So it's a tough gig. It really is tough like that, I think.
So I think from the outside as well, teaching can often look like some of the most kind of overqualified, underpaid people when you look at industry, for want of a better phrase. Now, we were talking off camera and I was saying, compared to my friends who went into industry from university, so just to become a teacher, you usually have to do a postgrad, some kind of postgrad. So you usually do your undergrad, postgrad. A lot of teachers will go on to other qualifications like masters, MPQs, so on and so forth. So you're very, very, very qualified. Comparatively to our friends in industry, we're not paid anywhere near. We're not comparative. So I can see that. All right, cool. So if, like yourself, the best people are leaving, because listen, I can say this. I worked alongside you, but you also taught one of my siblings as well.
True.
Don't do the maths. Yeah, it's all right. And the best people are leaving. You are seeing teachers leaving their droves. I think a survey said that like within 3 years, 44% of teachers said they'll leave the profession. Is it a people problem or is it a system problem?
Surely it starts with the system, I think, because some people don't want to join teaching because they can see the system from the outside.
Yeah.
So I didn't actually want to become a teacher myself. I definitely wasn't keen to do that. But
okay.
I was working as a chef in Leicester, which I also didn't see myself doing. And my mum was just like, you can't keep doing this. There's a lot of unhappy people in chefing, to be honest, as well. That is crazy hours. That made teaching seem a lot easier.
Yeah.
But there was a space at a teaching fair to go and do a schools direct PGCE, and they just kind of offered it. I went in my chef whites for the day.
Oh wow!
And And yeah, they gave me the job. So I just kind of fell into that. And then when I was there, I just found I kind of enjoyed it. But the point is that when I looked at the system from the outside, I was thinking, I don't really want to do that. Because I remember thinking my teachers at school were not even that happy. And yeah, financially, the rewards are not that great. From what you read from the outside, there's like huge burdens on them. And then having worked in there really are huge burdens. It's crazy. Like they do just add extra things on your plate all the time. And how are you supposed to deal with that? But then it is slightly a people problem because certain people don't join the industry.
Yeah.
So maybe if loads and loads of people who were hugely ambitious joined, because those are the people I typically like the most, the ones who were really driven. And I'll tell you a quick anecdote. I remember one of our friends, Jordan. I don't know.
Oh yeah, Jordan. Yeah.
Has he been on there? You should get him on here.
Yeah, come on.
I said to him, can you imagine if we were working in the private industry, not private education? I was like, we would have been really quite far ahead of this 10 years. And then I was thinking the reverse. What would happen if huge chunks of people had joined who I felt were kind of similar to us and really pushed things forward? You know, people were getting quick promotions and totally changing their departments and you know, you walk into their classroom and you can just feel, okay, cool, this guy or this lady is a serious teacher. The kids are listening, but they're all having fun. It's not like draconian or anything. They're actually learning. I don't think that there are loads of people like that. I don't.
So you're talking about a systemic change in education to really see the change, the innovative change that we need. Because even off camera, again, one of the things that I get very frustrated at, and I think it's because I've got my feet in the education space, but also in the business space as well. So we were talking off camera kind of about AI, and now AI is just transforming just work life, like everything, every single thing. Yeah. However, I can see, and I can say, I do use AI in my personal life, and I use it in my work life. Yeah, just not with student data or things like that, but just to get tasks done quickly and so on and so forth. Yeah, and it feels like in the real world, everybody's doing it, but in the education world, they're miles behind. It feels like, I'm trying to think of a film parallel where, like, you just feel like you are light years ahead of everybody because it is not something that is integrated currently into school systems.
Yeah.
And it feels like, you're still doing Excel spreadsheets manually? What's that? Like, and people are really proud. Oh, look at my Excel spreadsheet. I'm like, respectfully, I'm not going to name any AI systems can do that in 6 minutes. Do it better, color coded.
Yeah.
What? So therefore, you could put more energy into actually the bit that you're good at, the bit that you enjoy, which is teaching the kids.
Yeah, I mean, there were so many things in teaching. I've not been in it since AI, but there are so many things that were surplus to requirements, but were still required to be done. And that really frustrated me. I just felt like most of the stuff I'm doing here doesn't make any difference. So why am I doing this bit? And the previous head teacher, when I was there, I got the sense that he didn't necessarily mind if you didn't do that. That was there to make sure that everyone, you know, you're only as good as your weakest link. That meant that every weak link was still pulled forward. But if you were actually doing your own thing and you were getting good results, then you could kind of bypass some of that. But yeah, AI should definitely be in schools. I mean, I had this idea the other day. I don't know if I mentioned it to you, but so anyone can run with
copyright. Copy. I know what you're going to listen.
Someone can run with
gems,
it.
You know, no.
I don't have time to do this one, but I thought it'd be quite cool. The big issue will be compliance, right, with student data and things like that. But I was thinking, imagine if you're recording every lesson, right? It doesn't need to be filmed, but people are recording lessons anyway. I remember they were doing that for teaching and learning or whatever.
Yeah.
So you record it all. And then at the end of the lesson, you just have an automated thing that can send out loads of data points to lots of people. For example, it could create notes for every student in the class. It could let you know participation from who and who's not been speaking, and give you a chart throughout the whole year of who's like not been getting involved. That's a really important thing. I mean, obviously we all do it ourselves, but that would provide the data and make it so much easier. It could set homework. It could then send the homework. It could then mark the homework.
Individualize.
It could also send review of the lesson itself, give you how long you spoke compared to others, and give you a personal review, but also your managers. I know people get worried about that kind of stuff, but actually that's not necessarily a bad thing if you relax on terms of teacher style. But all of that could be done quite easily. Like nowadays, you wouldn't even need to spend, 200K to get people to code all of that. You could even create it yourself on AI, and then pay someone to manage it so that it doesn't break when you're doing it. But that would be something that would streamline so many people's work.
Hugo, don't get upset when somebody launches 100.
Someone do it,
off
honestly.
Of this. But yeah, you're 100% right. I do feel that the systems, it's almost like sometimes there are people who are holding on to these archaic ways of doing things because that's the way it's always been done. So to kind of move on to another question, now that you've transitioned into your own business and the business world, what would you say are the kind of top 3 transferable tips that teachers don't realize that they have naturally? And any teachers out there who are maybe considering like looking at a different profession, because let's be honest, that there are teachers who are having these conversations. So we have to cater to everybody, not say that SLT advocates for teachers leaving the profession, but let's be honest.
Yeah.
I'll go over that again. So what are the top 3 transferable skills that teachers don't realize that they have, that actually adds value in the real world outside of education?
Great question. I think, first of all, I'd like to say that teachers can go and do anything afterwards. I remember even one of my friends who was an assistant head, I was telling him about the sort of ideas that I had about my business. He was like, well, I said, I'm going to leave. And he said, but what if you can't do anything else? I was like, bro, what if I can't do anything else? Are you being serious? I hope you're not telling the kids that. That's crazy. Like, I didn't even know I could be a teacher. Turned out to be quite good at that. So I think, don't go into it with a limited mindset. You could do tons of different things.
Cool.
And then in terms of transferable skills, number 1 is communication.
Yeah.
Definitely. The way that you can think through complex ideas and then present them in a piece that's actually easy to understand is really powerful. It makes such a huge difference in anything, marketing, sales, which, if you're thinking about going to business or a business, that's something that's going to be really valuable to anyone. Another great thing would be going into startups. They always need people who are versatile. That's probably another thing. Versatility. Teachers are crazy flexible. You come in a new term and someone says, oh, we've come up with this new thing. Like, we're good. We used to call it ticks and now we're calling it sticks. And it's... And
that's what it's now.
Yeah.
Sorry, that's what it's like. We know that's what it's like, but go on, yeah.
And they say, you're going to have to change all of your documents. This was before AI as well. You actually have to go and make it all different. So yeah, versatility. It means that if you were to join a young company, not being a tiny piece in a huge company, but if you were to join a small one, you'd be so valuable because one thing that you would be able to do is get something done.
Yeah.
And it doesn't matter what it is. Someone say to you, I want this thing to happen. Don't know how to do it. Can you do it? You'd be like, I could probably figure it out. You search up in complexity and off you go. So yeah, 2, versatility. And then 3 has got to be people skills.
Yeah.
In my mind, building relationships is huge. It's basically, I think, one of the best ways to, if you're thinking about making money, it's one of the best ways to make money. If you're thinking about having an impact, it's one of the best ways to have an impact. It doesn't matter whether you're advocating for a cause or if you're trying to sell to someone, and not necessarily sell someone something they don't want. I think that's something teachers often think is a thing. But, help someone through a decision that will actually benefit them. Having great communication skills and the ability to actually build a relationship with them has a huge impact. So those would be my 3 skills.
Because you do that, yeah, brilliant. You do that every day. You're dealing with, and this is one of the things, good teachers are brilliant at building relationships with their students. And if you're a classroom teacher with 30 kids and you teach 5 cohorts, that's 150 people. The average person in business doesn't deal with 150 people a day. That's just the kids who haven't developed their frontal lobe yet. So you're dealing with slightly emotionally unstable is a bit unfair. So you've got to deal with that, and then you have to deal with the staff.
Yeah,
so
maybe more unstable.
I was waiting for that. So it's
seriously though,
you've got to really understand that the skills that you have. And if I was going to add one more as well, it would be storytelling. You to kind of curate a story and that storytelling process. If you've been teaching, you know how to do it. You know how to captivate an audience. You know how to tell a story. You know how to, as you said, take a piece of information and tailor it to your audience in a way where you're going to have to convey it. And usually you have to tell a story to get the kids hooked in. You know how to do that. So, yeah,
I use my skills in teaching every day, without a doubt.
Give me an example.
Well, the other one I just wanted to say is leadership. I know some people might think they haven't been in a leadership position at school, right? But you're leading a class and you have to lead loads of different classes. So that's like being a manager or a leader of like 5 to 10 different teams. And what you're trying to do is to, in my opinion, the best way to get good results in teaching is not about, red, amber, green or like marking or any of that stuff, in my opinion. It's all about getting the kids on your side, not as friends or whatever, but get them on side and convince them that it's good for them to work hard.
Yes.
So if you can convince them to work, then you're laughing. They'll do it for you. And it's the same with a team, so leading a team, that's exactly the same thing. So to use like an example of things that I use in teaching, storytelling is a massive part of my work now. In fact, it's one of the things I teach all of new prospects who are hopefully going to become clients. I teach them about the importance of packaging up their brand into something that can actually be remembered. And I always use an example from teaching. I say that when I was a teacher, barely anyone ever remembers like what Churchill exactly said in this moment, or, how many troops were actually at Gallipoli. Barely anyone remembers that, but they all remember Churchill had the cigar, they had the hat, and these like quirks sort of parts of the story. So I always say to everyone, how can you tell your own story of your business rather than just saying you're the best at what we do, or like we're the most experienced? How can you create something that people can cling on to? So that then when they pass it through to someone else, they can actually speak about you. They can say, oh yeah, the SLT podcast, they're the guys who do blah, blah, blah. As opposed to they're the best podcast.
Yeah. Brilliant. There you go. SLT. We're always dropping gems, We're always dropping gems. Okay. All right. I'm just soaking in what you're saying, That's what it is. I know what I'm going to say next, so I'm just soaking it. I'm soaking it on. All right. So, so there's teachers listening right now. Yeah, they're definitely listening. I know that because I've seen the stats, yeah, who want to leave, but they're scared. There are teachers where is it 31st of May? That 31st of May deadline is coming up. And if there is an uptake in teachers leaving, please do not blame us. Do not come. SLT Podcast. I can see the headlines now. SLT Podcast. Downloads due to teacher shortage, whatever. There was a teacher shortage before this episode. Come on, let's be honest. Right, so let me just get this now. There's teachers listening right now who want to leave, but are scared. What's the safest way to transition out of teaching?
That's a tough one. First of all, no reason to be scared. What's scarier, right? Staying in teaching to 65 or 67 or 69 by the time
whatever
you
they
get
change
there.
it. Yeah, whatever they change it to. Yeah.
Staying there on the same salary, or because remember, only a small percentage of people become head teacher. This is one of the things that made me want to leave. Like 1 to 2% become head teacher. It's not easy to get there. And the workload and the intensity is that of kind of being CEO at Starbucks almost. But your wage is incomparable. So like all summer, you're panicking because like a student has had a horrific family incident or something. And that's weighing on your stress, but then you're getting paid the same amount as like a mid-level manager at Capgemini. But yeah, that first thing would be don't be scared, because in my opinion, there's no reason to be scared in this life, without getting too philosophical about what you might believe. I just don't think that that's necessary. That doesn't help you get anywhere. And then the second thing is that if you are feeling fear, to me, I feared more staying in teaching and being stuck in a system that I didn't feel like could serve me in the same way I was trying to serve it. And then I'd also say that I often tell people that, and it's probably a bit of a cheesy cliche, I certainly didn't come up with it, but if a bird is on a branch and the branch breaks, it's not like been fearing that the branch will break all this time because it's got wings. It's all good. If that branch breaks, it's just going to fly off and go and do its next thing. And that's the way I saw teaching. Teaching was a branch for me and it was fine. Eventually it broke and I went off, and it's actually the next branch I've landed on has been way better for me. I'm far happier. I make more money. I have more time with my family. I have this huge weight off my chest. When I left teaching, I likened it a bit to getting a new mattress. Right? You don't know how rubbish not rubbish, but like how painful that mattress was until you left.
A new one.
And what I think it is that every conversation you have as a teacher is really important, except for one with colleagues, unless you're a leader and people are a bit delicate in teaching, so it's kind of important. But every student, if you say the wrong thing that day, you're just a bit annoyed or whatever, they can hang on to that for their whole life.
Yeah.
There are people who will think at the age of 60 that they're no good at A, B, and C just purely because Mr. So-and-so said that when they were like 11.
Yeah. Hopefully they don't become a rapper and put your name in a song.
Yeah.
Do something. Yeah.
But it means that it's really important for you to think about every conversation. And I don't think I was even aware of that until I left. I've slightly lost the train of what you thought. Oh, the safest way out of teaching. So all I can really speak to is how I did it. So
were you scared to make the transition? Let me ask that first.
I was more scared once I left.
Okay.
I wasn't really scared to leave because I got to a stage where staying was so awful, to be honest, that there was no way I wanted to stay.
Okay, so safe transition.
And also that May 31st thing, I think they just tell you that to try and hook you in longer. I mean, I didn't leave then. I just left when I left. I said, I'm sorry.
Not advisable to everybody.
Not advisable, yeah. But
so
safe transition. For me, what I did, right, because I wanted to set up my own business and I'd seen that there were options, and right now is a crazy time.
It is.
The democratization of business development is totally insane. Like, crazy. You don't need capital, really. You don't need a building. You don't need a team. There's a million people working online as freelancers who can help you. You can start businesses for £0. So you're not risking anything. It's insane. Like, you already have a laptop. Off you go. You've basically started. So that was the kind of realm I was getting into, as opposed to saying to someone, right, I need to raise 1 million because I want to create, something to do with, I don't know, some new watch company or something. So instead, what I did is I started working for free. So I just started messaging people saying, hey, I'm interested in this thing, and I think I could do a good job for you. Would you be interested in doing a trial run for 30 days for free? And then the more I did it, obviously I got better at it. They started getting good results. Then I asked people to pay me for it. And then at that point, I was earning outside of school in my evenings, and I was like, okay, cool, this is pretty good. I was earning way more than I would have done.
Oh, so you started the idea before you left teaching.
Yeah.
And then you kind of built up a buffer.
Yeah.
And then you was able to...
Well, yeah, kind of. Although when I left, suddenly everything changed. That's the way the business goes sometimes. Yeah. So that's why I say I was more scared. I do want to say, if anyone's listening though, because I know people had this idea that like I was taking days off for business. It's wild, teaching. That's another thing. The gossip.
The rumor mill. Oh.
The other day I spoke to someone who was a good friend of mine from teaching, and he was like, bro, why did you really leave? I was like, I told you, like, I set up my business. I was fed up with the teachers. I didn't like the direction of the school and the education system. And I started earning more money outside of school than I was inside of school. So I was just like, this, and then I saw a few things that happened in the moment, like a teacher get punched in the face. I had the head teacher lie to me in front of loads of students. And then the student said to me, yeah, she just lied. I was like, wow. So that day, I didn't come back. But he goes to me, but wait, what about the tribunal? I said, what about the tribunal? There was no tribunal.
Oh, so this is
the rumor.
This is what happened in the rumor mill.
And he said to me, he was like, but everyone knows that like you were taking days off for your business, and you'd got in a lot of trouble for this kind of thing and that, and then you had to have a tribunal. I was just like, what do you mean everyone knows that? I don't know that.
Sorry to cut you. That's really funny, yeah? Because I was talking to some former students at the school I was at a while ago, yeah? And they were telling me about the rumors that used to go around about me when this was maybe about 10 years ago, yeah? And it was, how could I afford to have the stuff that I had? Like, they couldn't work it out for the life of me. And the fact that I did have a business outside, and there were so many rumors going around about me, because, like, I'll be honest, and it's, people may use the word, I don't know, flash, I don't know, a bit flashy.
Okay.
But teaching is a very kind of humble profession.
Yeah. Well, they like to think they are.
Yes. Yeah.
They present in different ways. They might not wear Tom Ford glasses, but...
Yeah, there we go. I was a bit of a Tom.
But they're not humble in front of the kids. They still like to say that they're the leader. And
they do.
Anyway, go on.
Those kind of things. How can he afford Tom Ford glasses? How can he afford those shoes? So on and so forth. And it was swirling around. And I was like, I had no idea that this is what was being said about me behind my back.
And the teachers fuel it.
Yeah, they're the worst.
They do it. It's terrible.
I think they start, like, without saying it, in essence, there was a slight implication that I was involved in nefarious activities outside of school.
Yeah.
And 10 years later, the kids came and told me that's basically what the teachers were saying behind my back. It had nothing to do with the fact that I was just irresponsible with money.
Yeah.
And nothing to do with that.
Wow.
There we go.
That's terrible.
So yeah, I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. And it's sad. But yes, so kind of coming back to the idea of,
yeah, let me try and give some other things that could be done. So that's the first one, right? You can go and create a business. The other one is you could go and work for a business, right? Obviously, you can go and work for like a big business, a corporation or whatever.
you've already said, and I love this, you've already said startups. You've spoken about
go
startups.
to startups. One of my friends, he was the one who really made me feel it. He was working at an oil company, history graduate as well from Nottingham Uni. And he was just like making way more money than we were at the age of 24 or whatever. And then he just decided this is not the one for me, basically. And he went and took at least a 50% pay cut to go and work at a startup. And then he just kept doing that. And the startups then grow. And if you're really strong in the startup, you get double, and you can get equity. Yeah, and they'll double your income very quickly as soon as they grow, because you were like one of the first 5 to 10 people. You really held up loads of pillars. So that's another good option. Tutoring is an option as well. You just have to be good at marketing.
Yep.
But that is definitely, but that is definitely an option, and you can do that. And the other thing I'd say, and we speak about this all the time, is hardly any teachers are thinking about their personal brand.
Yep.
This is a really easy thing to do. Apart from anything, imagine I keep telling one of my teacher friends this, that if you go for an interview, they're going to search you up. And if you're blocking...
You stole that from me, man. That is, I always say, sorry, go on.
Yeah. And if you've blocked up the whole of the first page of Google, and you're on a couple of podcasts and you've done a few thought pieces, you've written this, you've done a couple of talks, you're all on LinkedIn talking about this and that, you've got a bunch of followers, they're going to be like, whoa, this person's more important than me. Because there's still this weird thing, a bit like having a podcast.
Yep.
People are like, wow, you've got a podcast.
Yeah.
And kudos, you do have a good podcast, by the way.
Thank you.
But yeah, doing little things like that to get your personal brand up will help you within teaching, but also when you leave. Because it's the same as teaching, same as any job. People don't know what you're doing unless you kind of tell them what you're doing. Mm-hmm. So, people who were really vocal about what they were doing in school definitely got promoted more. Mm-hmm. Even myself, I remember one of my friends told me you should start wearing a suit. As soon as I started wearing a suit, I started getting promoted. Insane. There must have been other things involved, but that played a part. And then, loads of things, and telling people about the different initiatives you set up at school. People are already doing that. So why not do it online?
It's crazy. Yeah. I see what you've done there. Yeah. That was smart. Because one of the things we do outside the, as well as the SLT podcast, we help people I've helped people with personal brands. But people don't understand. The first thing anybody does when they meet you or when they see, is they Google you.
Yeah.
They Google, and if you're not coming up with anything, you've not contributed to, I don't know, it could be, your Substack. Substacks are brilliant, especially teachers. We like to write Substack, LinkedIn, podcasts, so on and so forth. You are completely wasting it. So maybe a big step, if you want to make that step or that jump, is to think about the industry you want to get into, and then begin to manipulate your personal brand to be an authority in that space. And it can be very, very niche. And sometimes the more niche it is, the better it is kind of for you, because you want to be the guy, not just kind of the water guy. You want to be the water person who deals with 99.9% purification from so on and so forth. It's better you're that person than the generic water guy. Yeah, no, you're 100% right. You're 100% right. You're dropping some gems. I think we might need to start a Patreon and make certain kind of behind the scenes exclusive content, because I think people need to start paying for this. All right, cool. All right, cool. All right.
Teachers can do it, basically.
Yes.
They can do it. And I just really think if you have the stomach for setting up your own business or going freelance, then you should probably do it. There is obviously like kind of nerve-wracking things. There's ups and downs and all that sort of stuff. And it does require a certain attitude. But if you have the stomach for that, there's never been a better time to do that. And you can sell anything. Like, don't forget, if you want to be the person who is just talking about education, for example, you can create a huge following just about that. Or you can talk about anything. Like, you might love Tom Ford, and you just talk about Tom Ford all day. I bet you anything there's a YouTube channel who does it. There's a YouTube channel I saw the other day where and I think it's actually really popular, they get professional drummers, like famous ones now, because obviously they've grown, to come and play they listen to a song without any drums on that they don't know, and then they play their own drum beats on it.
I think I've seen it.
Yeah. Random concept. The guy was probably a drummer, loved the drums, and thought, I'm going to start doing this thing. Now he's making a lot of money and having a lot of fun and traveling all around the world from that.
I want to say I saw a guy from, this tells me like Nirvana, Foo Fighters, David. I always get his name. I think he was on it. It was a good episode. Yeah, I think so. All right. So listen, you've dropped some gems, but I've got a final question that I'm going to put to you. Would you ever go back to teaching? And if so, what would it take to get you back in the classroom?
I don't mind going back to the classroom, but there's absolutely no way, categorically, I would ever go back to teaching. That's another thing people say, oh, because you're a teacher, you've always got that to fall back on. And I suppose that's true, but I was definitely not thinking like that. I think I could never go back there. That's for certain. Saying that, though, I do really want to go back into more teaching. Like I said, I already teach a lot of people about a lot of things in my life. But what I want to do, and any school leaders who are listening, who think this would be a cool idea, it's something I want to do.
Another idea. All right, cool.
Yeah,
well, give it away for free.
I've already told a few people about it. I'm just waiting for the school to take me up on the offer. But basically, I want to donate 10,000, right, for a year, kind of so that then no one can tell me what I can do, And I don't know how it would work structurally, but essentially 10 students, I get to pick them from whichever year group, and they each get £1,000 to set up a business for the year. And I'll teach them all the stuff I know, and we'll try and actually build them each a business, and see if we can get them that money and like actually build something that does something. That's what I want to do, essentially. Yeah.
So that would be the only avenue.
That's the only way I'm going back in right now.
And Shatu, what's so interesting about that, especially with the space that you're in, digital marketing, if you can teach kids, like if there was so I haven't seen one yet, and you stand to be corrected, like a digital marketing apprenticeship, If young people at the age of kind of 13, 14, decided, listen, no, I don't want to be a doctor, I don't want to be a physicist, I don't want to be a teacher. Digital marketing is so powerful. You teach a child that and then expand beyond that, and they're laughing.
Yeah, or even just teach them sales. I know loads of people who are under 18 who have pretty big businesses. It's totally nuts. There are people who take sales calls while they're in school, and they like go to the loos, and then they're they're closing like 10K deals from big companies in the US. It's really impressive. 15-year-olds, it's wild. So they can definitely do it, and they have the hunger for it as well. These younger generations, they already spend their whole life online.
Yeah,
they're being marketed to it all the time.
They're used to it. I think they're saying the next generation, I can't remember if it's alpha or beta, they're the first generation that are fully integrated online. I
saw a guy talking about this the other day. He was saying that, it's Gary Vee. Everyone, don't know Gary Vee, but he's all over Instagram. He's a digital marketer, but he was saying that, everyone's like kind of resigning. They're calling it the Great Resign or something like that. People like me are walking out from their kind of London jobs or the equivalent. But now it's a stage where they never even applied in the first place. People don't want to apply to those things. Obviously some people do. And of course, it's still it's really important. We need lawyers and doctors and all this kind of stuff. But a lot of young people are going to be looking and thinking, like I saw this young guy set up a business where they're going door to door and selling, when they have a little mini driveway off the house. Yeah. And they're putting those pylons. Yeah. It's like 500 quid. They say, they go to the place and they say, oh yeah, it's usually 700 quid because we're doing next door. You can have a 10% discount. You offer it. Great sales technique. Then they say, okay, cool, 500 quid. I know, I appreciate that's not 10% off. And then
you were the maths teacher.
And then they don't do the bollard. They then just pay someone who knows how to do the bollard. Yeah. And then that's it. And those guys scale big business like that.
All right, we've had some gems today. We're going to wrap up this episode of the SLT podcast. Can you please make sure you are liking, sharing, subscribing to the podcast? That's what helps this to grow. We're on a growth mission, guys, of the SLT podcast. We appreciate there's a core of people who've been with us from day one, and they listen, but one of the things we want you to do, as well as listening and downloading, is to share these conversations. We know we have our teacher WhatsApp groups. Share these in your teacher WhatsApp groups. Share these in your networks. Comment. We appreciate all of you. And make sure you log on to the next episode of the SLT podcast.